Stripes are extremely common, as you may know, in surface pattern design. Creating unique styles of stripes can serve as amazing blender patterns in your collections. If you're watching this as this comes out in February, I think the deadline is February 28th, 2025. Spoonflower's design challenge is sophisticated stripe. So I figured it would be a really great opportunity to show you how I create irregular stripe patterns 3 different ways. So you may want to participate in that challenge using those techniques. So without further ado, let's get to it. Today, I will be using my blueberry muffin color palette that you can find on my website. If you want to use your own palette, please feel free to do so. But if you want to use the exact colors I use, this is the palette I'll be using today. So you're going to start by choosing a background color of your choice and apply it to your old canvas. Then we're going to create new layers for the stripes. This is really important that you play with different layers on this, and you will find out why later on in this tutorial. First up, I'm going to show you how to create a diagonal stripe. This technique can be used combined with any other stripe technique you know, but I'm going to show you the basic way to do it just so it's another technique you know how to do. I think it's a really essential one and a really interesting one to know when you want to add variety to your stripes. So we're going to select one color of our choice, and we are going to just choose the monoline brush. We are going to tap the wrench and go to select drawing guide, and it is already on the 2D grid, which is exactly what I want. What we're going to do is start creating some random stripes. You want to only work on one half of your canvas. You will understand why later. Make sure that your layer has the drawing assist on. If it is not on, you have to tap your layer and click drawing assist for the grid to work. This will allow you to have perfect and aligned stripes super easily. So basically, we're just going to start creating stripes. I'm going to keep it very simple here. I'm just going to add all the same color of stripes. This is really a basic one just to get you into that basic technique. Okay, so that seems good. Now we will go back to our wrench and edit the drawing guide. We're going to choose the quadrant guide option. It's going to help us make everything a bit easier. So you can tap done. And now what we're going to do is we're going to tap our selection tool on the whole layer and rotate by 45%. Now by using freeform, you're going to be able to elongate your stripe so it covers the whole canvas. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put it so every single stripe is about in the middle. At this point, this does not need to be perfect, but just try to get it to fit properly in the canvas. Here, if you wanted the stripes to cover the whole canvas, this would mean you would need more stripes. You would need stripes to get to about here and here to allow for a full stripe pattern. But since it is just a basic tutorial to show you the technique, it's not necessary. It will allow you to see how the effect goes together. If you want to change some colors in your stripes, now is the time to do so. So I'm just going to pull some colors from the palette. Now is the time to duplicate your stripe layer twice. So you will have 3 different copies. Now you're going to take the selection tool and pull each of your stripes here so it snaps to the corner of your canvas. So again, orange lines is where you want to be to make sure that your pattern is seamless. You're going to do the same thing, but in the top left corner. Then you are at the stage where you can merge everything with your background together. We can remove our assisting drawing guide and duplicate to test our tile. So you need 4 copies. you're going to use the selection tool and bring each of our 4 copies into its own quadrant to make sure it repeats. And in our case, it does. If you want to add texture, now is the time to merge everything together and add your texture layer. Make sure it is seamless. And if you're happy with this, then your diagonal stripes are done. Now for the other 2 patterns, we're going to explore textured stripes in 2 different ways. First, you're going to select your background layer and create a new layer for your stripes. Again, we're going to go ahead with the monoline just because it's the easiest way to make sure your lines are aligned between the different patterns. Again, drawing guide, and we can assist our layer with the 2D grid. So we're just going to create stripes all throughout our square canvas. We can already remove our assist and close our drawing guide because it won't be needed anymore. What we are going to do now is add texture to our stripes. We are going to create a mask layer and put our color to pure black, which is the corner, or if you're on the disk, just double tap on the lower left corner to get pure black. Now you're going to choose the texture of your choice. Procreate has a ton of different options. We're going to go to industrial and choose wasteland. If you want to make sure the texture is what you want, you can always just test the brush and see if it's something that you enjoy. I'm going to lower the size of the brush a bit. What is extremely important is that you're going to apply a bit of texture, but never touch the edge. If you touch the edge, it's over. Your texture will not be seamless. So it's extra important. So at this stage, I'm going to lower the opacity of the brush and just apply some texture as I see fit without touching the bottom and top edges of the pattern. You can play around with the texture, put as much or as little as you want. It doesn't matter. Make it yours. And when you're done with the texture, we'll be back with the next step. We're going to merge the mask with our stripe layer, and we are going to duplicate our stripe layer. Each of your layers you will bring halfway down and up your canvas. So the first one we're going to bring down until we hit those orange lines, and the other one we're going to bring up top. Now we can merge those together, and we're going to again create a mask with pure black and again apply your texture to the remaining section. Now you're going to merge everything together and your texture stripes are ready. Now you can duplicate 4 times to test your repeat. So again, bring each of your 4 copies to a corner and your repeat is seamless. At this point, another way, if you want to have your diagonal stripes, is you could merge these 4 together, use the selection tool, rotate by 45% and fit to canvas, and then you can copy 4 times and bring each in its corner by using the orange lines. And now you have textured stripes, the diagonal. Often, when you do those patterns, there are multiple ways to get to the result you want. So play around and find out what you like. That's really the fun of creating patterns, is that you can really get extremely different results with whatever you choose. You can have them vertical or horizontal, whatever you prefer. Technique number 3 is definitely the most complex and quite unorthodox of the 3. We're going to start again with creating some stripes with our monoline brush. So create a new layer, toggle on the drawing guide, and make your layer drawing assisted. We're just going to add stripes. The color you use right now is not important. Now we can toggle off our drawing guide and unassist our layer. What we're going to do with this here is we're going to make our stripe the same color as the background and play around with patterns within our stripes. So you're going to toggle on alpha lock and choose your background color to fill your stripe layer. We're going to toggle off our background to make it easier to work on. We're going to play around with clipping masks and create textures within our stripes. At this point, you can either do patterns like I'm going to show you how to do, or you can also use the textured stripe technique we just used within this technique. So let's get to it. So we're going to add that clipping mask and start creating, let's say, stripes within our stripes. That sounds very intense, but we are just going to get started. In my case, I'm going to toggle back on my drawing guide just so I have straight horizontal lines here. I'm going to make sure my layer is assisted. We're going to do some horizontal stripes. It can be perfectly aligned or not at this stage. We don't really mind. The only thing that is super important is that you have one of your stripes here going to select and duplicate it twice. Make sure it is still on clipping mask, but this is going to be necessary so our pattern is seamless. So once you have two copies of that stripe, you're going to bring one halfway to the top. So the orange line is in the middle of your stripe. And we're going to do the same thing at the bottom. So we're going to make sure they are aligned and the orange line is going through the middle. That will make sure our pattern will stay seamless since that stripe is halfway into each of the edges. You can now merge everything and keep adding the stripes within. Make sure the stripes are edge to edge. All right. So here we are going to toggle back on our background to see if we like that. I'm going to remove the drawing guide. My layer is still assisted, but I can see this better. So as you can see, it is clearly a striped stripe, which is really funny to say, but you don't have the same kind of edge as a regular stripe. In my case, I feel like teal only is a little bit of a mild way, and I really like more complex patterns. So I'm going to toggle my background back off and add another color to our stripes. Again, I'm going to just lower, let's say, my monolines so they're not the same width, and you can just add those stripes wherever you feel they go. If you go a bit too far and stumble upon another of your stripe, just erase it. And if you want to add a third color, please feel free to do so. That is what I'm going to do. And if you want to, you can also add vertical stripes, diagonal stripes, whatever you feel. You can even do dots if you want to. You really have no limits here. When you want to see the result, just toggle back on your background. And I am really happy with this. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply this to the whole canvas just for the sake of the tutorial. But at this point, if you want different patterns and different stripes, play around. Just create a new clipping mask for each stripe and have fun. It's a really fun way to make patterns. So what I'm going to do to just apply everything to those stripes is I'm going to select my clipping mask, do the selection tool, go to freeform and bring it all the way here. If you wanted to, right now, you could also erase this from some stripes like this and make a stripe a solid color if you want to. That's also an option. But in my case, just to keep that tutorial short, I'm going to keep everything that way. So when you toggle back your background, it's kind of a stripe of striped stripes. If you feel like it's too similar, you can always select one of your stripes and use the selection tool to change it around. Easiest way to do that would be to flip vertically or horizontally. Horizontal should not change much in this case, but by flipping vertical, your stripes will not be exactly at the same place, whatever we do. So that's what I'm going to do for the stripes here. I'm going to just do this for every section. You could also play around with colors here. Your imagination is your only stopper here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to merge everything. duplicate it 3 times so we have 4 copies to test our repeat. Again, use the selection tool, make sure you're on uniform, and bring each of your 4 copies in its quadrant. So here you go. You have a third really unique and fun stripe pattern that is really different from the classic ones. So here we go. We have irregular stripes, 3 different ways that you can combine and play around with as much as you would like. So if you needed some help slash inspiration for your screen flower challenge, if you're interested in learning more about surface pattern design, lettering, and experimenting with style, please consider subscribing to the channel. That is the kind of content I will be putting out every single week. So if you want to learn more in a really casual, fun way, this is a place you might want to be. You can also check out this video that will be somewhere on the screen where I show you plaid 3 different ways with Valentine's Day colors. Obviously, you can select any color you want for this tutorial, so it's a really nice way to create blender patterns for your surface pattern design collection. So thank you guys so much for hanging out today, and I will catch you guys next week.